This will be something of great interest to many of the listeners, I'm sure. You've been in a seminar for TED, and it discussed leaving your job. Now, I need you
Right.
to qualify that because I don't
Okay.
want my listeners just to walk out
Right.
of their jobs
Right.
unless you're
I
very
remember
sure.
that. That was called "Quit Your Job and Find Your Work."
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah. That one got a lot. That one it gets a lot of hits on the internet. Well, if you have a job, I recommend you quit your job. Now, before you quit your job, listen to what I have to say next. Because the word job comes from the Old English word gob, Gobbe, gob, a gob of something, a lump of something. Like you have a gob of wheat or a gob of dirt or a gob of coal. It means a lump. And so in the old days, you got paid literally for physically moving a gob of something from point A to point B. You came in and there was a pile of it here, and you had to move a pile of it there, and you got paid by how many gobs of whatever you moved. That's a job. Many people today have a gob. They come in the morning, they move things over either on the internet or physically from point A to point B. If they're in an assembly line, the assembly line things go by and they move things from point A to point B. If that's all you have, then your life can be very, very difficult because human beings are meant to do more than just move things from point A to point B. So what I recommend is find your work, because the word work comes from, I think, goes back to a Scandinavian word, werk, W-E-R-K, and that goes back to a Greek word, erg, E-R-G. If any of you listening are physics majors, remember your high school physics class, an erg is a measure of force. It's how many calories of energy does it take to move 1 gram of something 1 centimeter. So to talk about work means purposeful energy. It's like energy invested in a particular direction. And I've seen people who worked on assembly lines who had a sense of this being their work, not a job. One time, one of my clients was Polaroid years and years ago, back in the Boston area, and they made the Polaroid cameras. And I was standing there talking to some of these. It was a room full of mostly middle-aged women from that part of America, and they were the assembly line was rolling by, and this woman was doing the same thing for 8 hours a day, like this one screw and this one thing as the camera went by, as the cameras passed by. And I said, my goodness, I said, my hat's off to you. I said, I couldn't do this. If somebody said you have to do this for the rest of your life, I would say, just shoot me right now and get it over with, because there's no way I can survive this. And she said, well, let me ask you a few questions. Meanwhile, all of her friends who were also on the assembly line were starting to listen. She said, can you think about whatever you want to think about on your job all day long? And I said, well, no, actually. She said, mm-hmm. She said, can you talk about anything you want to talk about all day long on your job? And I said, no. She said, mm-hmm. Now, by this time, all the other workers are going, mm-hmm, see? She said, can you believe it? They pay me and my friends here, I don't know what the number was, so much per hour, and we can sit here and we can talk about whatever we want to talk about, can't we, girls? Uh-huh. And we can think about whatever we want to think about, can't we? Uh-huh. She said, there you go. Now, this woman had found community at an assembly line. She didn't go to work. I mean, she had to do the job with the cameras. That took about 2% of her, human capacity. Everything else about her was invested in this little community of friends and colleagues that she had there, and talking about things that were meaningful to her. And she'd found her way to now she wanted the cameras to be the very best cameras they could be because her name was attached to it. So she had pride in that one little screw that she was putting on there because it was going to mean a camera down the road. But she found community on the job. That's what I mean. You have to stop thinking of what you're doing as moving things from point A to point B and figure out why. Why are you doing that? One of my best friends was head of the program planning department for the Apollo space program, and Ed Lindemann, fabulous man. And he said that when he was trying to get everybody to follow President Kennedy when he said we're going to put a man on the moon and bring him back in 10 years. So the guy sweeping the floor under the rocket ship, in his mind, he wasn't just sweeping the floor. What else was he doing? He was putting a man on the moon and bringing him back in 10 years. So there's that sense of greater purpose. What is your organization really doing in the world? What is it contributing to life that's important? And how is your piece of what you do contributing to that? Now you're starting to quit your job and find your work.
Now, on the internet, people will find lots of information about starting your own business and this kind of positive thinking and affirmation stuff. And on many occasions, the thought leaders there will say, oh, well, you can start your business with no capital. Is that true, John?
Oh boy, I'd like to talk to those people yeah, over on Herb Tea or something. I don't know how you start it without at least, well, you can put your sweat, we call it sweat equity, sweat money into it, but it's going to have to, it's going to cost something to start a business. And most people underestimate the cost and the time. It's going to take about 3 times as long and about 3 times as much effort or money as it's going to take. So it is possible nowadays on the internet, and I get these things all the time that say, click here if you want to be making $500 a week without any product at all. And there's some people that make a living telling people how to make a living, without any money. So I guess it's possible, but I think sooner or later you have to be contributing something of value to the world that the world wants and needs and recognizes, and will pay you something in return.
So what does make a good entrepreneur in your view?
A great idea, great connection with people, human beings, both with potential customers and with the people that they hire, collaborating with great people that you get along with very well, having a very clear, strong sense of vision for the what's the big idea? What's the big idea behind what we're doing here? And then a sort of a fearless determination, even when everybody around a successful entrepreneur says it can't be done. The successful entrepreneurs will always believe in that North Star. They always believe in that vision. They see that possibility. Right over my computer right now, I'm looking at, I'll take it down. This is my vision. I'm starting an online program soon called wiseratwork.com. There's the thing. And this is my map of the Wiser at Work website and what's going to be on it. And it has the target date on it and everything. So every time I'm sitting here, I'm looking up and I'm seeing that is like, why am I sitting here? And that tells me why I'm sitting here. Very important for a successful entrepreneur to keep coming back to that, because they're going to be constantly distracted by money problems, people problems, operational problems. They've got to keep their eye on the target.
So you're saying keeping your eye focused on the original vision is
the big
key.
idea.
Right.
What's the big idea that we're here for? Yeah.
Okay, well, John, I'll just let the listeners into a little secret about you during your time between Seattle and Krakow in Poland. You've got 4 grown children, which you told me about earlier off camera, but you play the guitar. Tell me a little bit about where that
Well,
fits.
gosh, when I was in primary school, 4th grade, I think, this musical guy came around and asked people to hum a note, and so we were standing in a row, I remember, and he asked me to hum a note. I hummed the note, and he said, oh, you have perfect pitch. Well, I don't think I had perfect pitch, but he wanted people to join the school orchestra. So I'm like 8 or 9 years old. So the violin, somebody stuck a violin in my hand. And so for about 3 or 4 years, I played the violin. And I worked my way up to 4th violin, 4th chair, and realized I had peaked out on the violin. I mean, I was the last guy in the violin section, and I just thought, this is not working. Then I went to junior high school, and in the 7th or 8th grade, I think I discovered a guitar. I think a friend had a guitar, and I just started messing around with it, and it just came very easily. And so from that point on, I just started learning songs and playing songs on the guitar. So when I went to college, we had a little band, and we played for people. And then when I went in the Navy, I started a band on our ship. I wonder if I can get a picture. Let me see if I can pull that picture up.
Oh, I thought you were going to pull the guitar out for us.
Oh, I'm not going to play for
Not
these
today.
guys. No, not today. No, I know what you wanted me to do, but instead, let me see if I can show you this. Yeah, here we go. This is you're not going to believe this. If I'm sure this will work. This is me with my band on my ship in the United States Navy. See it? It looks like an album cover.
Wow.
And I'm the guy in the front with the white with the officer's hat on. Anyway,
amazing.
there we are. That was shot in Europe somewhere.
So you have a well-rounded life. I've noticed that you even do
Still
yoga.
do magic.
You do yoga
Still
as
do
well?
magic. Yoga every day. Just to stay healthy and try to stay alive. You know, I'm 73 years old. A lot of times, a woman a few weeks ago asked me how old I was, and I said, I'm 53 and holding. She said, how long have you been holding? And I said, 20 years.
Oh my gosh. Well, John, with over 3,000 people around the world receiving your monthly newsletter, the John Scherer Leadership Report, I wondered, what else? What more? What are your future plans? You showed me the chart just now. What are your future plans, John?
Well, that's one right there. What I realized, I had a colleague stay in my condo since I've been living in Poland. My condo has been sitting there in Seattle. And I had a colleague a few years ago that needed a place for a couple of months. And so I said, you're welcome to stay there. And she called me after a few days. She said, what's in all these boxes and file cabinets around here? And I said, I don't know, just a bunch of my materials. And she said, do you mind if I go through them? And I said, no. So she called me about a week later and she said, John, this is a gold mine. This is a gold mine of material. Anybody who's in the change transformation business would want to be able to see this. These are actual letters to clients. They're, PowerPoint slides, videos, audios, stuff like that. She said, do you mind if I organize it? And I said, no. So, she spent the next month or so organizing every single thing I'd ever written or anything I'd ever said. So now it's all organized. And she said, you have to find a way to get this out there. So I come up with this concept of an online resource, a channel, a place where people can go so that they can turn their computer into a personal development resource for themselves, basically. So I've gotten a lot of my really great friends around the world that do this work, and they've agreed to put their material into this. So it's going to be a subscription thing coming. We're going to launch it in May. So I'll get the word to you, and maybe you can get the word out to your listeners.
Yes,
but anyway,
it's not a problem, John. Now tell the listeners, the viewers, how they can get hold of you. SchererCenter.com is the website. You can email me at john@SchererCenter.com. SchererCenter, not the English spell. SchererCenter.com. Sure. All right. Okay. Well, John Scherer, thank you so much for speaking to us today. It's been very insightful, and perhaps we'll follow up after your launch in May. It'd be very interesting.
Thank you, Sandra. I loved my time in the Caribbean. I loved being in Kingston. I was, of course, there with the Navy for a lot of times, went to all the islands, St. Thomas and all the islands there. So it's a beautiful part of the world, and if I can come back, I'd love to do it. Thanks for interviewing me. It's a great interview.
Thank you very much. Well, you've been listening to Sandra Corbin, Success Strategies, and I've been interviewing John J. Scherer regarding his leadership seminars and organization. Thank you for listening.